Hello, everybody. Rick DiClemente with Star Self and Astrology Unplugged. Welcome to the show 289 tonight. It's going to be very interesting. A couple of things I wanted to mention to you first, and I mentioned it just now off the air, is keep your eyes wide open because Mercury is starting to slow down to go direct on Sunday. If you got to mess with things, let things go till Sunday. After Mercury goes direct, things really start to work themselves out. Secondly, Uranus is squaring Saturn really close right now. That's really very powerful. One's in Aquarius, one's in Taurus, and it's really having a big impact. At the same time that Pluto is returned in the U.S. chart, and Pluto is squaring Eris, and at the same time Mercury is retrograde. They're all going on at once. So things are kind of nuts though. Now, I wanted to thank the people who have been donating to help me with paying for Zoom each month, but your donations, which come through on my website, are very much appreciated. I wanted to also mention a couple of things to you. Last week, I told you I sent out a teaser to you about how fabulous this young lady was as a singer named Eva Cassidy. And I want to know who took the time to listen to Eva Cassidy on YouTube sing Over the Rainbow. And have you ever heard, Linda, Claudia, have you ever heard anything like it?
She is magnificent.
She died at age 33 of cancer. Very sad, but just so incredibly talented. What do you think, Linda? You are muted.
When you mentioned her, I wondered why I'd never heard of her, and the fact that she had passed so young is an explanation for that.
Well, she didn't want the public eye.
Oh, I mean, we're lucky to have anything that she did, really, given.
She was just unbelievable. Well, I'm glad to be spreading the word about her here. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to mute everybody and thank you for your comments. And I'll explain to you how we got to tonight. This is all Virgo night. I did once before in the early days of Unplugged. I would say about 5 years ago, and the show was really in its infancy. Since then, since this book has been out for 10, 11 years now, I keep growing. I keep learning more and more and more and more about the signs. And in some cases, the signs I've learned a tremendous amount. In other cases, I'm still learning. So don't feel bad if you're still learning, okay? But the Virgo story tonight is one because so many Virgo women come to me. Very few Virgo men do, and that's very much keeping with their nature. But I've been talking with Liza about this tonight. I've declared it within my own reasoning. There are 5 signs of the zodiac that I feel, I'm not showing any favoritism. There are 5 signs that have it rough, which means besides dealing with the hand that's been dealt them, they seem to be unable to get to the other energies of the zodiac. And I'm not going to go into the 5, but the Virgo is probably one of the top ones because the Virgo nature is so imprinted upon them. It's so strong. Even with people with one planet in Virgo and a bunch of planets somewhere else, it's a very hard sign to overcome its pressing nature. And when I give you these opinions, all of my opinions, if you don't know me well enough by now, are based upon one thing. Is the self able to come out? I don't care what sign you are. In my opinion, no matter what's in your chart, your sun sign wants to breathe first. If you're a messed up Aries, your Aries wants to come out. If you're a messed up Gemini, your Gemini wants to come out and you want to play. So that's my main intention when I work with anybody is your main child inside able to come out? Can it get out? Can it get expressed? And in the case of Virgo, it's very difficult. One of the things that lead me towards this discussion about Virgo is years ago, I was doing newsletters a lot. I did about 100, I did about 150 newsletters once every month. And I was doing a newsletter one month about flow, who goes with the flow, who doesn't go with the flow. And I quickly came to see that not only are Virgos and Capricorns not good with the flow, but I came to realize that the number one illness, I'm not a doctor, the number one illness that is reported to me as a 44-year astrologer is intestinal area, Virgo people. No doubt about it. They don't all have it, but most of them do, over 50, 60%, I would say. And I have my reasons that I think that it is that way. It's not that the Virgo gods make them sick. It's not that the planets say, let's get them sick. It's not how it works. All of the energies are meant to work together. And usually when you're out of balance, you need to blend other energies with you. It's very hard. Like I was telling the group tonight, I just did a chart of a person a couple of days ago. And I tell you, there was nothing I could do. There was nothing I could do for this person. The chart was just so scattered. There was no way the person could put the chart together. I don't know why that's it. It's the way it is. I don't know what the karmic reasons are. You can make up stories if you want. I'm not going to. When I don't know, I just say I don't know. All right. Now, during the year, I cannot tell you how many times every day I'm going over Virgo reasons with people, Virgo explanations with people, not just sun signs, people with moon signs, people with Saturn there, people with Virgo rising. Virgo is such a powerful energy in terms of insisting on this Virgo-ness. It's not the most powerful sign, that's for sure. That definitely goes with Eris. We're seeing Eris surpass Pluto now. Virgo is so incredibly powerful in that it pressures the native to be so productive, to be pure, to be analytical, to be robot-like. Robot-like is a big problem with Virgos. To be good, to do what they should. It hit me so hard. I told Claudia this. This hit me so hard that I spent one whole year trying to decide what the word supposed to or should mean. You think of it yourself, you go, oh, you're supposed to, you should. Mm-mm. It took me a year to figure out what should means to my satisfaction. Because these people are obsessed with it, and when you talk to them, it's in every other sentence. Should is there. You got to do what you should, just do what you're supposed to do, supposed to do the right thing, supposed to do what you should, supposed to do the right thing, supposed to do what you should. They're just obsessed with this word. Well, this is not just made up. These archetypal forces are God-centered. They're coming from the center of the universe, wherever that is. And when I came down to working with it heavily, I came to realize what the should is about is these Virgo folks are obsessed with doing what's right. And I'm a maniac about there is no right or wrong, because I really don't believe there is, other than your opinion. So I came to the conclusion in my work that should and all that is nothing more than following someone else's opinion. You give it a lot of thought, I'll tell you, you're not going to solve it in one night because it's really complex. What should is and oughta and all that is someone else's opinion that you have stored, you've accepted, you've agreed to in your mind, and you've propped up and you've put it there up on this pedestal. There's no should anywhere written. There's no thing carved in stone what you should do. Now, I'm not advocating you should do what you shouldn't do. I'm not advocating that you should do what you feel is wrong. Of course, you have to operate. You have to operate as if there's right and wrong, but that doesn't mean there really is. That means right and wrong is up to us to decide because we agree through consensus. But anyhow, I just end up so much of the time, I end up with so many people so trapped by their shoulds. They're just unable to go out and swim. They're unable to go on vacation. They're unable to raise their jolly hands in the air. They're unable to have a drink. They're unable to be themselves. Now, this is not by any means all Virgos. No, of course not. But you would not believe what a struggle it is with people with strong Virgos have a complete inability to do what they want to do. Now, if they've got Sag in their chart, they've got Libra in their chart, they've got other things in their chart, it definitely helps a lot. It helps a lot. It assists. But their fixedness towards doing what they think is what goddess wants. I kept thinking, why are these Virgo women coming to me? It's just so out of proportion with the rest of the zodiac. They want to be in sync with the goddess. They're pure. The Virgin wasn't chosen haphazardly. It's not all about sex. Some of it is. It's chosen for chasteness. It's chosen for its reverence, its appreciation of life. This is why so many Virgo women are in the nursing field, and they're so good at it. And so many of the men are in the professions, especially woodworking, machinery, mechanics, where you have to do things just exactly right. Now, the Virgo energy, let's explain it first. Very difficult energy. I knew we'd get a crowd tonight. Here on the graphics, my main teaching graphic is this one. This is in the book that we wrote called the Exquisite Zodiac. You see that Virgo is placed 6th of the first 6 signs. It's the end of the first 6 signs. And after it come the next 6 signs. You'll notice that the bottom half is about me or self-oriented. We learn from ourselves. Whereas the top half is we learn from others, our relationship with others. That's very much true. And those words were chosen very, very carefully. But being the 6th sign out of 6, one of the things you'll notice with Virgo people, we got 2 Tiffany's at once here. Let's let them both in, okay? Now, the buck stops here with Virgo. It's one of the main stern things about it. A lot of times when I ask people about, I always ask, what sign was your father? What sign was your mother? An awful lot of times, if Virgo was the father was kind of stern. Usually the father is very good provider, very good at their work, workaholic, but they're not necessarily good with the TLC. The women are different. Some of the women aren't good with the TLC. Some of them are. Some of them are just beautiful, beautiful spirits of goddess energy, where they're very pure. They're very much like the image you see in the 60s of the Earth Mama. The Earth Mamas were very Virgoan. Okay. When I finished that chapter in the book was all done. I told Liza I can't go by with this Virgo chapter, and I took the chapter, ripped it up, threw it out, because I just felt like I was echoing the same thing I'd heard so long about Virgo being perfectionists. By the way, beside this video on YouTube, it's not one of the Unplugged series, but under my name, Rick DiClemente Virgo. If you type that in, you will find a 30-minute Virgo, which has a virgin symbol on it. It was a 90-minute video chopped down to 30 minutes, and it's specially written for Virgos, how to get past the perfectionism of Virgo. So that video is out there beside this one. So what we see in the first 6 signs of the zodiac is the first 5 signs are very busy trying to form a self. If you don't know, this book is not to be taken lightly. This book is a heavy-duty book. There's a lot of dramatic newness to this book that you don't see in other books. This book is about how one sign changes into the next. Changes into the next, changes into the next. Well, the first 5 signs are very busy creating a self. But what happens inadvertently with the first 5 signs is they all do a little bit of whining, a little bit of whining. And if you know anything about Virgos, they don't want you around if you're going to whine, okay? You go whining to do, don't go to a Virgo. Don't do it. So they're going to tell you, quit bitching about it, get back up on the horse and keep on riding. Okay. And that's very natural. These are some of the main points about Virgo. No more whining. I'm taking ownership for what I do. And this is why Virgos are so pleased with self-made individuals. If you got a Virgo dad and they're glad of the woman you brought home to marry and she's self-made, they're going to love this woman. They're self-made. Virgos love things that are self-made because you're self-reliant. Now, they go so far, just like all the other signs, that sometimes they do need to lean on others more. Sometimes they do, without a doubt, need to let themselves do some whining. A little bit, just a little bit. And they really hurt themselves. And when I was talking about the 5 signs earlier, I'm talking about the 5 signs I've come up with that I think really hurt themselves by following their sun sign too much. They can't get out of it. It's just too much. It's too much. Virgo's one of them. Now, the Virgo nature is to be very honest, to be very clean, usually very short hair. Usually the women are small-breasted, smaller stature. Virgo women especially have high-pitched giggle to their voice. Small hands, because Chiron, which I believe is the ruler of Virgo. Chiro is a Greek word for hands. Chiropractor, chiropathy. So Virgo is about, let me get out of the way. They come right after Leo. The 5th sign is Leo, and the 5th sign is busy. I'm not going to be able to answer. Thank you for posting that stuff, Erica, for them, but I won't be able to answer any chats that you're putting up, anybody else. And thank you for joining us tonight from YouTube. So the Virgos want to get things done right. They abhor the sign before them. All signs abhor the sign before them. All signs have trouble with the sign before them, which is why they hop, skipped, and jump to get out of it to turn into the next sign. And that's really covered in detail in this book. They don't like people with lampshades on their head. They don't like people bragging about what they did. They don't like it. And Virgos go so opposite that Virgos end up with problems because nobody wants to congratulate them anymore. They're terrible at accepting compliments, them and the Capricorns. They're just no good. Don't compliment me. I don't want to hear it. You try to get a mom to compliment their child, the Virgo child. Boy, you're starting World War III. What you're trying to do is be nice to them. They just don't want to hear it. It's against their nature. And when you hear things about against their nature, you got to start wondering, well, where's the other half of that nature going to come from, if anywhere? They like the background, but they like being in charge. They love being non-critical, but they're very critical. Very critical of all kind of stuff. But boy, are they good at zipping their lip. Zip. Company man, keep my mouth shut. I'm not saying nothing. You can work with them and they will not criticize anybody. They just won't do it. But in private, they will. I wrote down a note to myself, which I thought was really intriguing the other day. If you can't be free within yourself, how can others be free? If you can't be free within yourself, how can you in your mind let others be free? You see, what Virgo comes down to is this. Virgos can't stand slobs. They can't stand lazy people. Some Virgos are slobs. So not all Virgos are neat. That's not what I'm talking about. Virgos can't stand people that waste their life, that aren't productive, that don't get things done. When a Virgo is productive, they're like on cloud 9. They just can't tell you how happy they are. They got this done today, they get this done, they get all this done. They're just thrilled. It really pushes them to be productive. But what happens with them is this. I use the same analogy, the same tired analogy. You see a man on a lounge chair at the beach, just laying back. It's very Virgoan to walk by that person mumbling to yourself. They don't like it. They don't like seeing people relax. They don't like seeing people possibly wasting their time. They can't stand people that don't appreciate what God gave them. Maybe the person's laying there. E equals MC what? Maybe they're that close. E equals N and M. Maybe the person's sitting there with a physics breakthrough. So all kidding aside, they just listen to these people when they waste a day. Oh, I should shoot myself. I wasted the whole day. I got nothing done. They want to kill themselves. They're that hard on themselves. Now, I'm talking about some, let me get my fan working here. I'm talking about some serious energy here. When a person has too much Virgo in them, they judge everything by how productive they are, and you just cannot do it. You have to stop it. You have to stop it. You're going to get stomach cancer. You're going to get colon cancer. You're going to get messed up somehow inside because it's just not natural. They got to learn to give themselves a break. And this is the one sign can't do it. Other signs can't do it. Scorpio, Capricorn, they're not very good at it either, giving themselves a break. Because giving themselves a break, they see that as being a bum. I can't tell you how many times I've told Virgo people, yes, I'll get my frankincense and myrrh out. And I go, yes, you may take vacation. Go, flee, have fun, have vacation. And they go, oh, I'm allowed. Ooh. They have to get permission from me or somebody. I don't have any power. But they really feel, you mean I can do that? I'm allowed to do that? They feel like they're sneaking one in. I'm talking about the critical heart center of Virgo. This is what it is. Well, if they're that uptight about their behavior, How do you think they're going to be with the kids or your romantic partner? And this is the issue. This is the issue. The issue is, yes, we want you to be productive, but when you sit back and you study the archetypes like I do, then you're able to see people like Mother Teresa. See, the trick is to be a Virgo, but to not be a Virgo, because the trick in the zodiac is to be into non-doing, to be in a state of non-doing, where you're not doing anything, you're just being. But that's naturally offensive to Virgo. So the trick with, if you read the life story of Mother Teresa, who was a Virgo herself, and they asked her about, how do you just keep working so hard with all these lepers and just work in Calcutta and work. And she said, I don't do any work. And you have to stop and think about this stuff. You can't let these cute little phrases just entertain your brain a little bit. You have to think about what that really means. What she meant was, every face I see is a different face of Christ. Every face I see, I'm married to. She's married to Jesus. Every face I see is another face of Christ. So in that sense, she's not laboring, she's working. And this brings me to the word fix. This is the word with Virgos. Virgos are here to fix everything. Well, they're damn good at it. And when Virgo says they're right, they're right. So I'm laying on a blanket with my girlfriend in the summertime, and we're looking up in this beautiful tree. We're laying there, and I see a dead branch laying there. And I told her, honey, if I'm a Virgo, my mind's always on astrology. It's not because of Virgo, it's because of Aquarius, in my case. If I'm a Virgo, I got to climb that tree and fix that branch. I got to get that branch out of there. The branch has to go. I said, honey, if I'm a Pisces, which is always the ultimate opposite, then the branch is fine, because the branch may fall. There may be a second branch. It doesn't matter. That's Virgo. That's Pisces. That's the poison word to Virgo. It doesn't matter. Everything matters to Virgo. Not to Pisces, nothing matters. But they're both extreme statements. They need to balance each other. Because the Pisces knows it's natural. It'll fall, it'll decay, it'll go to the dirt, it'll come up again. It's okay. It's laid back and it's wise. So when you think about the fact that Virgos are so good at fixing stuff, you ask yourself, how do they do it? Well, the way they do it is they find out what's wrong with everything. I got to watch my tone of voice because I got criticized on YouTube for being too loud. So I gotta be less exciting, a little quieter. So whoever that Virgo is listening to me. I don't want him to get all upset. What does that say about God when you have to fix everything? What does it say about your attitude towards God, which they're so God-fearing, and they love God, and they love what's pure, and they're very celestial? What does it say when you got to fix everything that was ever created? It says you don't trust him. What does it say, Capricorn? Similar. I got to fix is Virgo. Capricorn is I got to make sure this works. I got to make sure this thing works. That's Capricorn. These are the essences of the signs, not the junk in your newspaper, in your Cosmo magazine. This is how Claudia is learning to be such a good astrologer, because she has absorbed the essences of these archetypes of these signs, and she's working at that deep level. And that's why, as she learns, she's just learning quickly, because she's learning the archetypal layer underneath things. So what does it say about Capricorn? If everything you got to make sure it works. You're not trusting. Either one, you're not trusting. Therefore, when I wrote the article about flowing, and I came up with the two signs that don't flow, Capricorn and Virgo, that's why. How are they going to flow if one's fixing everything and one's making sure? How you gonna flow? You can't flow. This is my personal belief. When I saw that so many Virgo people or Virgo energy type people had problems in the colon, in the stomach, in the intestines, I came up with, well, there's got to be a reason why this is happening. You're not built with faulty parts. And I'm convinced the reason is you stop the conveyor belt. The conveyor belt of fluids going through your body, food going through your body, energy going through your body has got to flow. Start it, stop it, start it, stop it, start it, stop it, start it, stop it, stop it. Something's wrong, got to fix it. Let it go, stop it, got to fix it, stop it, stop it. And that herky-jerky motion is what happens because the brain gives out orders and the body listens. The body doesn't know what it's doing. It just says, stop, stop, freeze, freeze. Let go, okay. Right. And there you can see it. And I'll tell you, in my opinion, and I ask people, probably 75% of the Virgos I've ever talked to have trouble in that area of the body. And when Neptune hits them, as is often the case, it's the opposite. It's about letting go, letting be, let it go, let it flow. Their illnesses in that part of the body get better. They start to flow. They start to flow. So all of life is about being fluid, because then you're in touch with God's energies, but you're not being irresponsible, which is what Virgo is all about. So the reason Virgo is so uptight is because the first 5 signs before it aren't really self-responsible. They're not busy thinking about that. They're just letting things go, that what will happen will happen. And Virgo is doing what it's doing mainly because of this. Here's the number one reason that Virgo is doing what it's doing. Right here. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, after Virgo is done, we got to go meet people. We're crossing the line from me into we. We got to go meet people. And don't you think that makes Virgo uptight? Because Virgo knows it's a big deal going out to meet people. It's a big deal becoming a Libra when you're not used to Libra. It's a big deal. Because you've never done it before. So, sometimes you will see some Virgos are the complete antithesis of what I'm saying. And what happens in their case, if you listen to study Arroyo enough, sometimes people become the exact opposite because they fail so badly at what they're trying to do in their own mind that they end up hating themselves. And when you end up hating yourself, you end up reversing your charge. You end up reversing your polarity. You end up reversing what you're supposed to be good at, you end up being bad at it. Now, when I talk with Virgo people, what do I hear? They're very busy, they're very productive, they're usually very clean, they're very ironed, their clothes are ironed, their teeth are perfect, they're on schedule, they're getting things done, everything, even their sexual relationship is 9:05 and not 9:10. 9:05, not 9:10. I'm not joking. Sometimes that's the case. Now, I bring upon you the word robot, and I don't do that haphazardly. This is a real danger with the sign Virgo. It's a real danger that some of them become robotic. Because if you're always doing what you should, always doing what you should, you're very robotic. And you're losing that flow once again. You're losing the flow, which is really peculiar because when you talk to Virgos, they're really pleasant people. They're really, really nice people. They're a mutable sign. They're a giving sign. They're an earth sign. So they want to help you make the cupcakes. They want to help you build the garage. They want to help you shovel your snow. Nice people, almost always pure complexion. Even the men, even into their 90s. Almost all Virgos, real pure complexion. I told you the other body issues. This is another one that I forgot. So the difficulty with them is they have to somehow start leading their life focusing on being instead of doing while they're being pressured all the time. What are you doing, Shelby? I wonder if Shelby's a Virgo. He must be. Anyhow, so the key is to learn to be a doer, to do what you got to do. And what I tell people oftentimes is this. Here's how I start to work with Virgos when I realize there's a lot of work to do. Get yourself ready here, okay? When I start to work with Virgos, I get them to say to themselves, oh, I need to do the dishes, as opposed to, I gotta do the dishes. That's the difference. And yeah, you on YouTube, put your finger in your ear because I'm gonna yell. Okay. That's it. I've seen families, I've watched fathers with their kids, I've watched mothers with their kids, I've watched fathers butcher their kids about their chores. I've seen it. And I'm not talking about, hey, you got to sweep the porch, a real reminder. I'm talking about they really get down on them heavy. And the kids, a lot of kids that I have seen with Virgo parents grow up feeling like no matter what they do, they can't do anything right. This is very tough. And I get a feel for them because the Virgo's going through the same thing. That's why they're one of the five. Now, of course, I'm exaggerating, but in some cases, I'm not. You go to almost any employer, and you're going to have to take a wrench to remove any Virgo from that employer's employment because he's the best workers. They run the company. They know everything going on. They keep their mouths shut. They're company people. They're really good. They stay after hours. They don't want any accolades. They're just really, really good. So it's a fine art with them. One of the things I would do if I had a Virgo child is to try to really teach them about what they have that is Virgoan and teach them a lot about what other planets they have in their chart that can counterbalance it. Because the zodiac is beautifully perfect. It's just beautifully perfect. And there's not always a one-to-one with what you need. But I wrote down a meme years ago on Facebook. It became pretty popular for a little while. It said, nobody's following Virgos with a clipboard except themselves. And it's the truth. They think that's what they think. We all do this. We all project on others that others are thinking critically of us like we think, but it's really, we're telling people how we think. Clipboard. Oh, they missed the spot. Missed the spot there. They got 3 right there. They missed the 4th one. So when you're walking around with that sense of being productive, of getting everything just right, you just can't do it. And when you tell yourself, I need a break, I need a vacation, go ahead and take it, and you are allowed to. You're allowed to. How much did that help us, calling her the Virgin Mary? How much did that really help us? Huh? Boy, that's a big story right there. So, in the past 15 years, Neptune has been going through the opposite sign. It's been going through Pisces. So on the zodiac, you can see now, here's all the people have Virgo planets somewhere in here. Neptune has been in this area for over 10 years now. It's about 23 right now. It's about to leave and go into Aries. So all these years it's been going slowly, opposing all these Pisces planets, Virgo planets. And you see, this is what astrology is. And this is why I'm trying to tell you. And it's why I'm raising my voice. Astrology is what got into you. What happened to you? What's come over you? And I look at these people who Pisces have been going back and forth opposite to Virgo. And what are they feeling? They're starting to feel, I think I'll take a break. I think I'll take it easy. I think I won't worry so much. I think I'll let the dishes pile up. This is happening inside them. We're not talking about some far out planet beyond Mars somewhere. You are Neptunian, you are Virgo, and you're all these things. So it is the antidote to Virgo-ness is Pisceanness. And Pisceanness has its trouble that are far worse than Virgo problems. Pisces problems can be really severe, where you follow that theory of, hey, nothing matters. You follow that too far. Hey, how you like your doctor come to your bedside and go, hey, nothing matters. So I would like to check my list, and I want to leave plenty of time for you to talk about your Virgo-ness, people you know, how you feel about it. I will mention a couple of things to get clarity on. I don't know why this is. You figure this out for yourself. But Virgo people are usually very non-critical, or they really look like they're non-critical. Okay? I made a movie about a man once. And after shooting him for a year, I tried to get him, he's a Virgo, I tried to get him to criticize somebody. I just wanted to see, will he ever, he was 80 years old, will he criticize anybody, ever? He didn't do it. I kind of amused myself, but that's amazing how they can be. But you find it yourself, look inside, are they really critical and they're just not saying it, or what? But when you, she's shaking her head up and down. Another thing, if you got a secret to tell, and I told you, don't tell Libras, don't tell Geminis. If you got a secret to tell, you can put your secret with a Virgo. It ain't gonna get repeated. You can usually put it with a Capricorn, usually, sometimes with a Scorpio. Usually Capricorns and Virgos are the best. Don't tell Gemini and don't tell Libra, because they're air signs and they just need to talk. Okay. Now, I think that's all the things I have in my notes. So what I'm really coming down to saying is, if you've got this tremendous force within you that's bugging you to be productive, and you go spend Saturday on the back porch smoking a cigar and a beer, and you're not productive, you got to deal with that. You got to deal with that inner pressure. I don't know where it comes from. I'm pretty convinced it comes from a past life. But Virgos are very God-oriented. They're very pure. They want to satisfy God by doing what they should do. That's one of the things that's happened in astrology. In the old days, everybody came to an astrologer to find out when is he coming? When is my babe coming? When's the next good guy coming? That's what they did. That's what you did with astrologers. Boy, was that painful. Now, everybody wants to know, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to do? What am I here to do? It's now Chiron related. It is Eris related. It's related to Virgo-ness. People want to be in sync with what they can do. And I think the fact that we've all become much better at being individuals has helped along a lot, because in the old days, being an individual was a mortal sin. So I think that has really helped. So the real thing I'm trying to say to you is, if you're Virgo, you're still going to want things in a certain order. You're still going to line up your baby dolls in a certain row. You're still going to want certain things done a certain way. You're still going to be a little bit picky, but start to become more aware of how many times you use the word supposed, or how many times you use the word should. And you'll just be amazed. Don't try to do anything. Just mark it down. Mark down. Today I used the word should 54 times. Tomorrow I will use it 79 times. And your natural reaction is, oh, I got to go fix that. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to fix it. Just by being aware, your mind will fix itself. This is really, really true. Really, really true. And with that, I want to open the phones up to any of you that might have a comment or a question about how to deal with it. Just start raising your hand, and we'll take your questions about the sixth sign. Somebody went, I don't know who that was. Kat?
Hi, Rick.
Yeah.
Hey, a lot of this is true. The criticalness, I have to watch. The godliness, gotta walk your talk. I've been told I walk my talk, as far as God goes, my path goes, all that. Very true. But I feel like my Sagittarius moon somewhat saves me, because I have that playful side,
That's real good. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You notice that Virgo and Sag are right angle to each other. Right angles don't get along well, but
I know.
It helps you be more flippant and more fun. That's right.
I know. Yeah, I've dated a couple Sagittariuses. It doesn't work.
In general, no.
It doesn't work.
In general, no.
Yeah, but I almost feel like my sister, I don't know all her whole chart or anything, or all her signs. She's a Pisces. She tries to fix everything. And it
Well,
drives me bananas.
it's got to be in the rest of her chart. It's not her Pisces.
It drives me bananas. You should do this. Why didn't you do that? It's like, oh my God. And maybe that's because I recognize that in myself, that it,
Well, it probably is in her chart,
yeah.
Remember that everybody born in the 60s, from 60,
I'm 51. I'm born 51.
everybody born in the 60s has Uranus and Pluto together in Virgo.
Okay.
They all got those two planets there, and probably way before those dates.
Okay.
But yeah, you're not getting it from your Sag. Your sister's getting it. Your sister's not getting it from her Pisces.
Somewhere else, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in the chart. It's always
Yeah.
it's always in the
Yeah,
chart.
I find it interesting, the whole godliness thing. I mean, it's there.
What do you feel? I know it's a weird word, but what do you feel about your godliness?
I have a definite purpose, and it was downloaded into my brain one day.
No. Let's take this further here.
Okay,
You're telling me that you have a purpose that was given to you, downloaded from God?
yes,
Okay, what does that purpose feel like?
that it's a commitment
A
In some way.
commitment to do what?
to bring light into the world.
Yeah, that's very good. To fix things, to be like a nurse, to make things good, to follow the whichever commitment that is. I can't remember which Hippocratic oath. Yeah, not to hurt anything. Virgo people are wonderful. They got bird feeders in the backyard.
Feed the animals.
They're great with their pets. Many of them. You wouldn't believe how many of them are veterinarians.
Really. Hmm.
They
Well, I've
really-
been in the services, service field, helping people disadvantaged, people disabilities, my whole life.
Okay, that's very Virgo. So let me ask you, you're definitely feeling the religious part of it correctly. What do you have trouble with in the Virgo field?
Relationships,
Okay, why do you have trouble?
male, female. Yeah.
Why do you have trouble in relationships that you think is Virgoan?
Probably trying to fix people somewhat, I
Do
guess.
you
or-
focus on what's wrong with that person?
Yeah, that's a problem
Does
sometimes.
it drive you nuts? Like, why do you keep doing it when you know it's wrong?
Right.
Let me
yeah.
tell you something, this is really intriguing. This is where the robot comes in. I wrote this in the book. When you have a problem and you go to the therapist says, this is what's wrong, and you go home and you fix it, and it's fixed the next day, something's wrong. People don't fix themselves within a day. Yes, they're
No.
robots. Okay, so what Virgos have to do, and it's not easy. This is not easy, to become more compassionate with other people, to let them be as they are. The reason it's so hard with Virgos, I think, is it's so hard for you to be lenient with yourself.
To be lenient with myself, right? Yeah, I was told recently, Lisa Williams, I got a reading in church a couple weeks ago. She said, quit trying, they're telling me you need to quit trying to carry everyone.
Mhm. Well, I read that. I repeat that phrase all the time with my clients. A lot of clients, I'm going to tell you the truth. A lot of clients, a lot of human beings are obsessed with this thing called, I want to help other people.
Right.
And it's a bunch of BS. Course in Miracles. It's your way of alleviating guilt. A lot of times when we want to help other people, it's not really that we really want to help them. Almost everything you do with another person, you're doing it for yourself.
Right.
Almost everything. And
Yeah.
we just need to own up to it. Well, thank you for chipping in, because
Thank you.
that
Yep.
was real good, honest appraisals there. Yes, anybody else? Come on. Margaret raised her hand. Where are you, Margaret? Yes, dear.
I'm curious what a Scorpio moon does to a Virgo.
Oh boy, is that a really, really good question. That's a really good question, because now you're off into real particulars now. You're talking about the two most critical signs of the zodiac. You're talking about the two signs with the most courage. You're talking about the two signs that will not give themselves a break. That's what happens when the moon is in Scorpio, which is not a good place for the moon, in combination with the Virgo. Now, on the positive side, you just don't get much stronger. You don't get much, more courage and strength and commitment. I'm going to do it, and I did it. They show up and they do it. But this combination has a real hard time accepting other people, their weakness. Other people don't have the strength you do. They just don't have it. They just can't come into your hot kitchen. They can't do it. And I notice a lot of them get married and they admire each other's purity, because those are the two signs of purity. But a lot of times they get married and they get divorced because it's just too much on the relationship. There's just too much pressure all the time, because what happens, you end up projecting on the other one. You're so critical, you're so critical, you're so critical, you're so critical. So what do you think that combination gives you?
I think it gives me a hard time letting go, and
Okay, letting go of what?
trying to be perfect.
Okay,
Trying
all right,
make-
that's really good. Let's stop there for a second. That's really, really good. Okay, I want you to tell me why you're not perfect.
Um, well, I mean, usually we find out about our mistakes and things like that.
Because it ain't possible.
Yeah.
It's that simple. You've got a ridiculous amount of archetypal pressure on you to be perfect. It just is unreasonable. And it usually comes from past lives where you're over dedicated. The number one problem you see with Scorpios in the zodiac is they're over dedicated to God or to the other. They're so over dedicated. I will never betray you. I will never betray you. And they're just so over promised. And you just put too much pressure on you. I'll tell you another thing, Margaret. Some of the most beautiful people I've ever seen were Virgo Scorpio combinations. Like Sophia Loren, Liz Taylor. That's where they come up with this particular magnetic power. It's not just beauty, it's powerful beauty. You got to be something to play Cleopatra, right? And that's where it comes from. Those two signs together are enormously powerful, but you got to start asking yourself, what is power for? What is perfectionistic? What's it for? And the only thing I can come up with, maybe I'm real narrow-minded, the only thing I can come up with at all is I got to use the best of my little red wagon to tote myself back to God. And if I'm not toting little Rick back to God, then what the hell am I doing? Right, Margaret? If I ain't toting you back to God, toting you towards God, towards the oneness with God and with all people, then what are we doing this for? So you can get a nice little report card? I mean, what for? So in all cases, you had a very good question here. In all cases, you've got the ability. You're, matter of fact, you're overpowered is what you are. You just got too much power. You need to take some of the pressure out and live a little. Go camping with your foot sticking out of the door. You know? Make a little mistake. Oh, it got rained on. Go camping with your foot sticking out of the door. And some of your foodages aren't covered up right during the night. Oh, shucks. Because this uptightness of forcing you, I will work with you if you want to, but I'll guarantee you this is past life. And this has to do with you thought, this is my experience, you thought that God was looking down his nose at you in certain ways. He thought we were weak in certain areas. So you must take this lifetime with these challenges. And you end up finding out that none of it's true. We are not being judged. We're not going to be judged except by us. Does that help?
Yeah, I have another question. So Virgos
I
like
want
to,
to add one more point
okay.
to your thing here. You took this life just from that combination. You took this life saying to yourself, boy, in the last lifetime I did this, whatever. In this lifetime, I'm going to be tougher. I'm going to be stronger. I'm not going to make any mistakes this time. And you bit off more than you can chew. And that's very common. It's very common. And what we all need to do is relax a little bit more. I want to say one more thing. I was riding on the bus one day with a friend of mine. And she writes weekly for the business magazine. She writes the business section weekly for USA Today. And I was riding with her and I said, by the way, why is it that people fail with small businesses? They start them and they fail. They start them and they fail. Her instant response right away. What do you think it was?
I don't know. I don't
They
know.
don't have enough fun.
Hmm. Mhm.
That was her instant response. And that's
Hmm.
something. Why do they start and fail? They don't have enough fun. I think that's a really good thing to chew on. Yes, go ahead with your next statement question.
Well, so Virgos are here to fix things. Part of me is, so when you have finished what you felt your purpose or your, when you've stood down from what you've spent your life doing on multiple levels, social work and everything else, it's very hard to sit and not have a purpose to re-pick up and passion again.
That's right.
Almost
The
like,
passion is the Scorpio.
yeah. So there's a part that feels like I have to find a new passion, a new something.
That's why many Virgos never retire. They keep working. They love to work. Nothing wrong with that. Go ahead.
But then the other parts is pretty obvious that I've had enough health issues that I need to stop and take care of myself. But there's still this part of me that feels like I'm wasting time here on this
Exactly.
planet.
Exactly. That's the Virgo talking. And
Yeah.
what I'm not hearing is what?
Pardon?
What I'm not hearing is what?
I'm not sure what.
You're not taking direction.
Mhm.
You're not downloading direction. You're not letting him guide. This is the problem with Virgo Capricorn. Too much control. I'm in control. If I'm in control, it'll all be okay. And it won't be okay. Only when you let go of control will be okay. And everybody knows it and nobody wants to do it.
Mhm.
That's your answer. That's why you're on this show tonight. This may be the most important part of the show right now. Usually one moment sticks its head out. And I've done the perfect work. I've done all the satisfactory. I checked all the columns. Now what?
Mhm.
Well, you are not a fixed product. You're not a finite product. You are a verb. So
Okay.
your question needs to go to him and say, okay, we've talked about these interesting things tonight, and I feel like I've done this and all, and I'm real glad that I'm powerful. And I'm sure happy with a lot of productivity that I've done and people I've helped. What would you like me to do next? And I give myself to your hands, and I look forward to your guidance. That, in my opinion, is the answer.
Okay.
That makes sense to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would like to do a full reading with you. I think it would be fascinating, and because I can feel your real dedication and your need for direction. And people like you, I find you just give one little piece of direction that is the correct direction, and man, they go far. They just go far. A lot of people got this stuff incorrect. Where you're going to see a counselor. How can you go see a psychologist or go see an astrologer? Man, sometimes astrologer does a greatest thing you ever do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the middle of watching these different series with my girl on TV, and in the middle of certain human situations, I'll just go, astrologer. And Claudia does it too, because I can tell she's guilty. Send them to an astrologer, $150. It'll help. It's worth thousands. It's funny. Okay, who's next? Thank you very much, Margaret. That was really good. Yes, Linda. Yeah, I want to ask you to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I
And
just
then
did.
Kathy O'Casey is up next. Yeah, go ahead.
I just have two comments. I have um, Venus in Virgo at the top of, at the midheaven.
Venus at the top of the chart in Virgo,
Yeah, right.
and
then
that's your ruling planet, Venus.
And then, yes, and then I have a moon in Scorpio, almost almost 5 degrees from the ascendant.
Right.
So that Scorpio Virgo thing is,
Yeah.
it's
Very
the
much
thing.
same for you. That's correct.
It's the
With your,
thing.
with your Venus, good.
What's the thing? I mean, like, people are all like sometimes afraid of me, and I didn't.
Oh, I find you so non-threatening. I find you so pleasant.
I know, but
You really are pleasant.
that I'm a Libra. I try. I don't even have to try on
You
that.
don't
But,
even, you're just naturally pleasant. You
but
really
if I go after something, or if I see something that should change, that's
Well,
wrong.
one thing I will say that it could come into play here. Sometimes when we're really a clean mirror, it really scares people.
Oh, well, thank you. That
It
helps. me
really
understand.
does. How many of us want to look in a real clear mirror? I think that could be the case, but you're not threatening. You're extremely pleasant, and your Venus and Virgo. Venus and Virgo can be tough because you got to put down your checklist when you're going out on a date.
I know.
He used the wrong fork.
I mean, there are just times when I think to myself, it's so much better for me to be single.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Linda. I want to go.
Well, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, then
have-
I got it. Then I'm going to Kathy. Then I'm going to Susan.
I have 8 Virgos in my life who are very close to me, starting with my closest aunt when I was a kid. And the one thing I will say about them is their calendars are always full. They absolutely never stop.
But you see, that's a very big weakness because you're running from life.
It's just like
You're running from life. You are. And you got to be direct with them. And if you're direct and honest with a Virgo, they'll be honest with you.
I actually tell my former Virgo boss, you shouldn't go on vacation.
That's
Because
exactly
vacation is
right.
what she should do.
Yeah.
It's not anything about relaxing.
Right.
It's nuts. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you very much. I'm going to throw this in there. I did go in 2009, I did go through open heart surgery, and 5 of my nurses, I was in ICU for over a week. 5 of my nurses were all Virgos. And I was so glad. I mean, I didn't get infected anything. I was just cool. And I was just thanking them all the time. Kathy, Susan, I'm coming to you next, dear. She's getting all excited. I'm coming to Kathy OKC. Then we'll get to Susan in her van. I knew this would be good tonight. We have to keep Claudia turned off because she's laughing too much. Yeah, Kathy, go ahead, dear.
So one of the things you've heard me talk before about the cancer stuff I've been through these last few years.
Yes.
And in looking back over this time, as I reflect on it, what I'm realizing has occurred is a lot of the shoulds have unraveled for me.
That's a Neptune. That's what Neptune's been doing to you from Pisces.
Yeah.
You go back and look at when Neptune was hitting them exactly. And that's exactly when the unpluggedness was happening.
So I'm finding that I'm naturally an introvert and I love my time by myself, but I'm finding that the dishes do stack up in the sink.
That's right.
That things are piling up that in the past I would go, oh, you should do something about that. And it's kind of like, I'll get to it later.
Right.
So I'm finding that there's been a relaxation in part about that. And sometimes I think I should be bothered by it, but then it's kind of like, oh, I've got this book to read, or this game to play or something to crochet,
Okay, let me ask you something. When you failed to do those dishes, did your house fall down?
Nope.
But what I'm trying to say, I feel for you. I mean, I can feel that pressure that's coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
That should pressure, it's very strong. And what you have to do is you got to turn around and face it and look at it directly and turn it into God compassion. Turn it into God compassion. If I can feel this much compassion about the dishes need done, why can't I turn that into extra compassion to give myself a break? Like I tell people all the time, you're not going to go to Vegas and become a dancing girl. Don't worry about it. You're not going to.
Right. Right.
So I know, but I can just feel it. I might as well go ahead and tell you the 5 signs because I know you're dying to hear it. 5 signs that I conclude with Virgo that I feel have a, like what I would call a double problem. They got the problem of being the sign, but they got the problem of not being able to be anything else. Capricorns, Geminis, Cancers, Gemini, Cancers, Capricorn, Pisces. That's my opinion. I'll keep working on that. Okay, thank you, Kathy. But I think you've really done well. You've done remarkably well. I wrote an article, I'll have to dig it up someday, called Virgos Are Really Doing Well, because I started to notice 5-10 years ago how Virgos were picking up the vibration from the Pisces. The Pisces in you, it starts to whisper, and the Virgo says, "Oh, shut up." You know, it's the drill sergeant, shut up. But the Pisces is very wise, and it wants you to relax, and it wants you to love yourself. And, you know, you can tell when you're screwing up. You can tell when the dishes are getting so bad that something's got to be done.
Yeah. Well, the couple of other things too I've noticed is that I'm much more relaxed about the concept of God in my life and how that works.
Yeah.
Much more relaxed. And I'm
Yeah.
also finding that it's possible for me to speak my mind
Yes.
and let my point get across in a kind and gentle manner
That's right.
without attacking. So those are things that I've particularly noticed in the last 6 months about myself.
That's definitely Neptune. That's
Yeah.
really, really good. And one of the things that's really shaping this world right now, we're getting out of this religious behavior stuff. Religious means you got to behave this way. You got to obey this way. You got to put your arm here before you put your arm there. You got to do all that, as opposed to being.
Yeah.
Being in a state that's welcoming. Okay, I got several people coming up. Thank you, Kathy. Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Susan.
Okay, so a few things. First of all, I got very excited with Linda's stuff because she had Venus at the midheaven in Virgo, and
Right.
she's a teacher.
Right.
Of course, people are intimidated because she has very high standards.
That's true too.
Very
Yeah,
high standards.
that's right.
And then, did she say moon in Scorpio?
Rising, yeah.
That's intensity.
Oh,
Rising
yeah,
on top of
yeah.
everything.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
she
yeah.
terrifies people, and she does it with a velvet glove. So
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense, but this is career related. So her students, or if she's on a cause, a mission, her colleagues would also be intimidated, but then they would feel silly about being intimidated. I feel like she is like Joan of Arc.
Well, I think
in
you're
that-
right. She's even got the haircut for that. But I do want to mention another thing to Linda here that's very, very true. And I don't think Linda has any idea that she has these qualities. Libra people are winners. It makes me sick. They're just winners. They know how to win. And that means that when you're with a student, even if you're going to criticize the student knows you're going to correct them and put them on a winning path. That's just your
Yeah.
nature. And I'm not sure you're always aware of that.
Yeah.
But you
The
have that,
other thing,
you have that winning nature, yes.
I've got 3 granddaughters who all have this heavy Virgo influence.
Right.
And 2 of them have a lot of Scorpio as well. So the oldest is moon conjunct Saturn in Virgo and sun in Scorpio.
Oh, boy, is that tough. That's really tough. Saturn and
She's
Virgo.
contained.
Saturn and Virgo is really tough.
Well, she's very contained. She's very hardworking. She's the administrative type. She's not quite 15.
Is
But
she
I-
able to love herself?
Sure.
Is she able to love herself?
Yes, she's
Well,
super
then that's all,
tall,
that's all that
so
matters.
she can be awkward, but I've told her, you stand straight. I don't care
That's
how many heads.
all, that girl's gonna go far.
Right.
She's able to
She
love
is.
herself. She got 99% of it figured out.
Then the middle one is Sun, Saturn in Virgo. And interestingly, her Venus is right on top of her dad's moon in Leo. And she's got a moon in Gemini. Hey, you two, stop it. She's got a moon in Gemini. So super smart, super nervous, strong convictions, has to be right, and smart, so she generally is right, and she won't back down for nothing.
Well,
She's an interesting person.
you're giving me too much information here. Usually the same pattern of the Virgo, Scorpio, or Pluto combination is the same theory here. It's the two planets that say, we're not having any more excuses. Okay, so if you don't have anywhere else in the zodiac to go to dump off your excuses, you're in trouble. Thank you, Susan. Thank you very much. Who was next?
Kate Richards is next.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Kate, I don't see you, but I think I can hear you.
Here we go. My question is, if you have, let's say, 6 planets in the 6th house,
Yeah,
and they're all Scorpio,
yeah. Same story. Same story.
would that
Okay,
make
okay.
you?
That's
very
exactly Virgo, Scorpio, same thing.
Okay, that's all I wanted to
Oh,
know.
there's no doubt about it. See, the zodiac can get lopsided easily. You don't want too much in one place. When you put all that Scorpio in the 6th house, you have this phenomenal sense of, I will never betray anybody. I will work my ass off forever to get it done, always. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, not me, but yes.
Asking for a friend. Okay. Asking for a friend. All right. That's exactly what I thought. Okay. Who's next? Who's next? Erica? Kat? Kat had her question. Yeah, let's go to Erica. Do you have?
Claudia, I didn't raise my hand.
I'm sorry. Let's go to Claudia.
Um,
You have things on your mind, I'm sure.
yeah, so I actually have a girlfriend with the very same thing, Kate. Scorpio with 6 planets in the 6th house. But what I was
Oh,
gonna say
boy.
was, yeah, it's amazing. But what I was gonna say was, this evening has just been so helpful, even as I am learning, as I'm, getting older. As you know, I have Mars and Virgo opposite my moon exactly.
Yeah, that's very tough.
Yeah, so my whole life I've spent really criticizing myself for how I use my energy. I should do this, I
That's
should do
Mars
this.
and Virgo, yes.
Right? And then I feel guilty. But as I get older, and I think the Pisces usually wins because I'm kind of Neptunian. You told me something a while ago, which was, it was really simple, just like with oppositions. Sometimes I want to dance around the house and just escape and be. And other times I'm going to want to do the dishes right away. And
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be this like,
You're ruled by the sunshine.
yeah,
You're a Leo. Thank God, ruled by the sun.
yeah. And it's just now I really kind of appreciate that opposition in a whole different way. When I was younger, it was different, and it was very different. And I was now
Well, I'll
I-
tell you
I-
why your chart is remarkable compared to thousands I've seen. Here's the reason I think that. For the early years difficulties that you had to go through, it's just remarkable that you've turned out as good as you have. I'll just put that in quotes, that you're as positive as you are, that you're not real bitter, difficult to deal with. It really is pretty remarkable. And I'll go ahead and thank you, Claudia. I'll go ahead and finish by saying that I'm not sure exactly when, but we're going to have, I'm going to take a week off. And Claudia's going to sit in my chair. Is she going to sit in a chair in Georgia? And my chair will be empty in Pittsburgh. But Claudia and John are going to take over the show and do whatever they want. And I do apologize once again to Greg because I completely missed his. My iPhone failed me. I missed his date that he was supposed to be on the show. So we will have Greg on here soon. And what else was I going to say? Oh, the reason for the other 4 signs. The reason Gemini is difficult is because you don't know this about Geminis, but Geminis have a real hard time being made fun of that they have no feelings. I'm talking serious stuff in the archetypal level here. Not all of them. That's one reason they're on the list. Cancer's on the list. Why is Cancer on my list? Because Cancer is so sensitive and they're so emotional and they're so concerned about how they're going to be remaining safe that they end up having too much concern about themselves. Capricorn's on the list because Capricorn is just crapped on all across the zodiac. Everybody thinks that Capricorn and Saturn just suck, and they just don't understand how good Capricorn really is. And Capricorn themselves can have a very difficult time letting go and letting go with the flow. They have a hard time with it. And finally, Pisces. Pisces, as you know, is one of my favorites, but tough sign. Just a tough sign when you don't have any central spine, when you don't have any centerpiece to build to attach to, when you're just a jellyfish, when you're just here and all over the place. It's really hard to go forward, like with our good friend Deneen is Pisces, but she's got so much Virgo in her. So it's nice. So tonight was very good. I enjoyed it because I like to teach at that archetypal level that shows you that you're much more than just your sun sign. Something else is going on, and I encourage you to read that book, and I think it will help you. Next week, I'll figure it out, and we'll get Greg on here soon. And thank you for joining us. And all of you Virgos, send your mail and your postcards to Claudia.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Rick.
everybody.
I'll give you
Thank
her
you,
address
everyone.
soon.
Everybody
Here's her
say good
address.
night.
Send all complaints to Claudia.
There you go.
Bye-bye.